All rise for the jury. You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Continue with the direct examination. May inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Agent Durst, I believe you have an exhibit in front of you.
Yes.
What's the letter on that exhibit?
G as in George?
And is that your report from the house that we just looked at the photos of?
Yes.
And did you come to know any of the residents' names of that house from Detective Hughes?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Any of the people that lived in there? Did you ever come to know their names?
I knew it was the Pardon residence. Yes, Loretta was a name. Anthony was a name. That's the two off the top of my head I can remember.
And did you collect any evidence from that home?
Yes.
If I may approach, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to show you it's been marked as State Exhibit H. Does this look like an evidence log?
Yes.
And is that the evidence log from the Pardon household?
Yes, it is.
I'll show you it's marked as H1. What is H1, Detective?
This is a black Samsung cell phone, the brown hat, and 2 casino receipts from the purse of Deborah, what we believe to be the purse of Deborah Pardon.
Is that where you found the ID?
Yes.
Okay. Are these the 2 receipts?
Yeah. Yes, they are.
I know, I didn't let you get your
Sorry.
glove on, I apologize. Was this the phone that you found as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And then this hat?
Yes.
Why were you asked to look for a hat?
Yes.
By who?
The detectives investigating the case said if I found a hat similar to that to make sure to collect it. They wanted it.
And this was found in the room that you believed to be Deborah Pardon's?
Correct.
Looking at H2. What is this?
That's the Motorola cell phone from the top of the dresser in the second bedroom.
And again, are those your initials and date?
Yes.
Finally, H3. These are the tags that you collected.
Yes.
And again, what's the name on this tag specifically?
City Trends.
And these were all found in which bedroom? Do you remember?
Would be the third bedroom we came across. I believe I labeled it as the children's bedroom.
And are all of those in the same or substantially similar conditions when you collected them?
Yes.
And after you were at the Pardon household, did you go anywhere else early the next day of February 9th of 2018?
Yes.
Where did you go at that point?
We went to the Columbus impound garage again. They had recovered a second vehicle related to this investigation that they wanted examined.
Again, you can create a report.
I do.
I may approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Shades and marked as I. What is that?
Okay, so this is my investigative report from the processing of the vehicle. It was a Toyota Corolla.
And what was the information at the time that you had as to this Toyota Corolla?
I was advised that a suspect had been developed in this case. His name was Anthony Pardon. This was the vehicle that he was arrested in.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'll show you what's been marked as I-1 through I-40. Do those look familiar to you?
Yes, they do.
What are those pictures of?
These are the photographs of the Toyota Corolla and the evidence that I collected from inside the vehicle.
And are those true and accurate photos as you took them on that day?
Yes.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Any objection?
No objection.
Yes, you may.
And again, were you asked by Detective Hughes to still look for those certain items?
Yes, there was specific clothing they wanted me to look for as well.
Looking at I-1, what is that?
This is the passenger side of the Toyota Corolla,
I-2,
the rear of the vehicle.
I-3,
Closer photograph of the rear of the vehicle.
I-4,
Driver's side of the vehicle.
I-5,
Driver's side of the vehicle.
I-6,
These are two of the, I guess, the casino rewards member cards.
and what is the name? It's kind of hard to read on the big screen.
It's Loretta Pardon.
I-7,
This is the packaging for a stun gun.
did you actually find a stun gun?
No, it was just the box.
I-8,
This is the front driver, front driver side of the vehicle.
I-9,
The interior door front driver.
I-10,
Underneath the front driver's seat, a air pistol was located inside of a holster. This is the photograph where you can see, it's hard to see, but the pistol's underneath the seat.
what is an air pistol?
Not your typical firearm. It's not fired by conventional cartridges or gunpowder. It's compressed air that pushes the projectile.
I-11,
Center console of the vehicle.
I-12,
The cell phone that's just forward of the placard, right here. That was collected as item number 1.
again, was that something Detective Hughes asked for you to look for?
Yes, they were interested in cell phones.
I-13,
Another photograph of the cell phone.
I-14,
Opposite side of that cell phone.
I-15,
Item number 2, this is the air pistol recovered underneath the front driver's seat. It's inside of a holster.
I-16,
Photograph with the holster removed.
I-17,
This is the opposite side of the air pistol, and the magazine's been removed.
Agent, how can you tell it's an air pistol versus a regular, what we would consider a regular firearm?
The easiest way is it's typically on the side, it's labeled normally like .177 caliber, which is very synonymous with an air pistol. I believe that's the case here.
I-18,
This is the rear passenger side of the vehicle.
I-19,
Photograph of the contents of the back seat.
I-20,
Just another photograph of the clothing from the back seat.
I-21,
Another photograph of the clothing.
I-22,
Again, this is from the rear passenger side of the vehicle looking inward.
can you tell what that hat says?
New York, New York.
And that's in the back seat of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I-23,
Just another photograph of the back seat.
I-24,
The back seat, but this time from the driver's side.
I-25,
Another photograph of the back seat.
I-26.
Just another photograph of the back seat.
Why are you taking so many photos of the back seat at this point?
There's just a lot in the back seat, so as I move things around, I'm trying to get pictures of things that may be underneath something else.
I-27,
Clothing from a bag in the back seat.
I-28,
This is the interior side of the rear driver door.
I-29,
The detectives were interested in that hat, and they asked that it be collected. So it was collected as item number 3.
I-30,
A closer photograph of that hat.
I-31,
Detectives were also interested in those gloves, so they asked that they be collected.
I-32,
For this vehicle, again, I'm still looking for receipts of purchases, specifically clothing. So this is a photograph of that.
I-33,
Again, detectives were also interested in tags from the clothing.
I-34,
Barcode, again, from one of the clothing tags.
I-35,
This is item number 5 that was located inside of the front driver door pocket. It was a fixed blade knife that was recovered.
I-36,
A closer photograph where now you can see the knife in the pocket.
I-37,
I placed the knife in a box and took another photograph.
I-38,
Detectives were also interested in that black jacket. They asked me to collect it, and it was as item 7.
I-39,
Just another photograph holding the jacket so you can see what it looks like.
I-40,
I collected the contents of that cup that appeared to be used as an ashtray. I wanted the cigarette butts. It's a potential DNA item.
and are all those photos true and accurate as you remember them?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you create an evidence log as well for this?
Yes, ma'am.
I may approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you something marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit J. What is that?
This is my evidence log from the Toyota Corolla for evidence collected.
And again, is this evidence collected in the way the other scenes were with the same precautions to make sure nothing is contaminated?
Yes.
Let's start with maybe number 3 on yours, but J3 for the record. What is this?
This is the New York baseball cap from the back seat.
J4,
The brown and tan gloves collected from the vehicle.
and again, is this your signature on these bags?
Yes.
Number 7, J7.
This is the black coat that was recovered from the back seat.
Look at J2.
So this is the air pistol, the magazine, and the holster from underneath the front driver's seat.
J1.
Okay. Silver cell phone, LG, that was collected from the center armrest.
And when you collected it, did it have that damage?
It was, yeah, yes, the screen was fractured.
Looking at, excuse me, J6.
Okay.
What are these?
Again, an acetate sheet containing tape lifts from the developed latent fingerprints that I collected.
And where did you collect these from? I don't think we went over that, I apologize.
Sure. Front driver door is for latent print 1 and latent print 2. Latent print 3 and latent print 4 were found on the front passenger door.
Look at J5.
This is the knife recovered from the front driver door pocket.
J8.
Those are the cigarette butts from the cup that was in that center armrest area.
J15?
I collected a blind swab, 2 blind swabs from that pistol, one of which was item 15, and that's from, I blind swabbed the muzzle or the front of that pistol. And then 14, if I may, was the blind swab from the trigger and the grip of that pistol.
Why do you swab those areas of the pistol?
Just common areas that people handle. Specifically the muzzle, I've had cases in the past where it was pushed against the victim or inserted into the victim's mouth, so it's a great area for DNA. So again, I didn't know, but I wanted to swab that. And then the grip and the trigger is just a commonly handled area of a gun, so.
J13?
This is, I took blind swabs, so all the interior door handles again, so 13 is from the front passenger door.
What about 12?
12 is I'm sorry, 12 is a blind swab from the front driver door handle.
11?
11 is a blind swab from the rear passenger door handle.
J10?
J10 is a blind swab from the rear driver door handle. Yes.
And J9?
J9 is a blind swab from the steering wheel.
And did you swab the steering wheel the same way you did for Rachel's car?
Yes. Yep.
Are all these in the same or substantially similar condition as when you collected them?
Yes.
And agent, again, when you collect all this evidence, what do you do with it once you've collected it, taped it shut, and put your initials on it?
It's then it was turned over to the Columbus Police Department.
Excuse me. Did you test anything in the car for suspected blood?
No, I did not see any.
If I may have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Did we miss anything that you processed, Agent?
I'm sorry, I referred to my report. There was a stain on the front driver's seat, as well as a pair of jeans. Neither of those stains tested positive for blood, so no, I did not locate any blood in the vehicle.
And all the scenes that we've talked about, did we miss anything, do you believe?
I don't think so.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Van Cooler. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Detective Durst. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
My name is Larry Thomas. I think we might have met before.
I think we have.
Okay. I want to ask you a couple questions, kind of clarify your testimony in this case.
Okay.
And you were sent out from, I believe you said BCI,
Yes, sir.
and that's a state agency?
Yes.
And you help local agencies like the Columbus Police Department or other agencies that need help?
Yes, sir.
And in this particular case, Columbus Police felt like they needed some special attention, and so they called you.
Yes.
And were you working alongside any of the personnel from the Columbus Police Lab?
Not from the laboratory, no.
Okay. And so I believe you indicated that you've been crime scene special agent for about 10 years?
Yes, sir.
And we're all human, we make mistakes, don't we?
Sure.
and I think you even admitted to these folks, you made a pretty big mistake in not finding the knife involved in this. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's not a real big apartment, is it?
Did you say big apartment?
Yeah.
No,
3044.
sure. No, it's not a large
Not a
apartment.
real huge apartment, right?
Right.
And I think you were honest and said, look, I didn't see that box. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there was a box up in the upstairs bedroom. Did you ever look at that box?
I'm sorry, which bedroom are we referring to?
In the bedroom where the body was found, in that closet, did you see that box?
I recall, yes, I recall boxes in there. I recall we searched the contents of that closet, yes.
Did you search the contents of those boxes?
Yes, I believe so.
Was there blood in those boxes or anything in those boxes that contained blood or hair?
Not that I recall, no.
I noticed that you didn't take photographs of those items. Is there any particular reason why you wouldn't take photographs of those?
I guess I thought I did. I think they are shown in some of the photographs.
And I believe you indicated that, and it's very important, you collect a lot of these items so that they can be tested. Is that correct? For DNA, mainly DNA or any other evidence that might be left behind. Blood, hair, those sort of things. Is that correct?
There's a variety of reasons why we collect certain types of evidence. Yes, some of it's appropriate for prints, some of it's appropriate for DNA, some of it is just relevant to the case.
Okay. And so, most of these items that we talked about, that you submitted, you were the actual person who took the swabs of those items to be submitted to the lab. Is that correct?
Not everything that I collect is intended to be sent to the lab, if that answers the question.
No. Let me try to make myself clear because I'm confused. Of all these items
Sure.
that have to be tested for DNA, all right? You took those items, collected it, and you did the swabbing of the items to go to the scientists, right?
This is not correct.
Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
They're collected, at the time of the processing of the scene, we don't know exactly where the case is going to go or what needs to be tested. That's at the discretion of the investigators, the detectives that are working the case. So not every piece of evidence that I collect, even a potential DNA item, is always tested, is always sent to the laboratory. Not everything's always sent. So it's at the discretion of the detective and the way that the investigation proceeds.
Agent Durst, I think I'm not being clear. Do you know of any evidence that was tested in this whole case that didn't come from items you collected?
I don't know that.
Okay. And if I was to say, all the items that DNA testing was done came from the items that you collected, would that seem reasonable?
I don't know what was tested.
Okay. Do you know if anybody behind you came and collected any items that were tested?
I don't know.
Okay. Is this all the swabs of the items, and in particular like the cords, the bindings that you swabbed to get samples of? Do you know if you were the only one who swabbed those items?
I don't know. It's possible they could have been swabbed again at the lab, but I don't know. I don't know what the lab did.
So if you missed, well, let me ask you so you can maybe explain to the jury. When you did the swabbing, how did you decide which items were swabbed and how much of those items were swabbed?
I have to make an assessment. If I feel that there's a potential that we could lose those epithelial cells during packaging or during normal processing, I'm just going to go ahead and take a swab. So the ligatures are a perfect example of that. before I unwrap them, that unwrapping process, we could potentially lose DNA evidence. So that's why I swabbed those. However, if I feel like I can package an item and preserve it, I'm gonna let that go to the laboratory and let them swab.
And so I'm gonna try to give another example. You and Ms. Van Coolen stretched out that white electric cord. Okay, and I think you were standing here and she was standing here and it was quite a long cord, right?
Sure.
So the members of the jury understand, how much of that cord did you actually swab?
That car, I swabbed it when it was wrapped around the door handle.
So how much of it did you swab?
The exposed areas as they were wrapped around the door handle. I can't quantify that in a measurement.
And what about the bindings? I believe that you, it was a hair dryer,
Yes.
you call that, and a curling iron.
Yes.
I believe you took those, did you swab them before you put them together, or did you put them together and then swab them?
No, they were swabbed while they were still on her body.
Okay. And how much of the area on those cords did you swab?
For those particular items, I focused the swabbing around the area of the knot and on each side of the knot where I anticipated somebody may have touched to cinch down the knots.
Needs to say, in any case, none of all of the items were swabbed. In other words, you didn't swab that whole cord or any of those whole cords. You just took a sample where you thought somebody may have left DNA.
That's correct.
When you were looking at the car, and I believe you were talking, let's see. I think we were talking about the J series, the car that you got the New York hat from.
Okay, the
You went to
Corolla,
the
Toyota
police
Corolla.
impound lot,
Yes,
and you were asked to look for certain items.
yes,
And I think that's what you testified to last. We're talking about a unloaded, well, let me ask you, was that air pistol that you found, was that a loaded air pistol?
no,
It was unloaded?
yes.
And the magazine in that, was that empty?
Believe it was empty.
Okay, and that's not a firearm, is it?
No, I think by definition, no, it's not necessarily a firearm. I'm not sure on that section of the law, but
Okay. But it was unloaded, looks like a pistol.
yes,
Okay. Now, what about, I believe you indicated you swabbed those items, is that correct? The handle, and I believe you said the barrel, because you thought that maybe if somebody used that, they could put the barrel up to somebody, maybe get some skin or some DNA.
yes,
So you swabbed those,
yes.
and you swabbed the knife that was found in that vehicle?
I'd have to refer to my report. I don't believe I swabbed that knife.
Would there be a reason why you wouldn't swab that knife? Knowing the facts of this case, knowing what you had discovered back when you were gathering evidence at the crime scene?
The knife, it was my opinion that that could be better processed if necessary and swabbed by a lab scientist. I wanted to make sure that we had two separate swabs from that pistol. So not to chance the communication error, I went ahead and swabbed the muzzle of the pistol and a second swab for the trigger and grip area.
Agent Durst, I'm a little confused. You saying the reason you didn't swab that knife is because you thought it would be better done by other people? Is that what you said?
Yes,
And you collected all these other knives and you swabbed them. They were preserved. Why wouldn't you let those be swabbed by better people?
I'm sorry, which other knives are we referring
The
to?
knives that were collected from 3044 Allegheny and the knives that were, that you collected from other sources.
I didn't swab those knives, sir.
So you didn't swab any of those knives?
No,
Okay. Was there blood or hair or anything of other evidentiary value on that knife in the car or that gun or that air pistol?
Not that I could observe, no.
And I believe you indicated that you saw a spot on the car, on the mat, and the pants. You tested, but there was no blood.
That's correct.
Did you test the pistol or the knife for presumption of any blood?
No, those were touch DNA swabs. That was the purpose of those.
Okay. What about the gloves?
No, I did not test the gloves.
Did you see any blood or hair or anything like that on those?
No.
Was any blood or hair on any of the items that you collected from the car?
Not that I observed, no.
What about when you did the search of the house? And I believe you indicated that, was it on Loretta? Do you know what street that house was on?
I'm sorry. What, are we
You
talking about
searched
the
the
original?
home, right?
I'm sorry, the original scene or the pardon residence?
The Park residence.
Yes,
You searched that one, is that correct?
yes,
And you collected a few items from there.
correct.
But while you were there, did you find, when you were doing any of your, were you searching that place or just gathering evidence?
No, we were searching the place.
You were searching.
Yes.
During your search, did you find anything that related to blood or hair or anything that might help your investigation in this case?
There was no blood or hair located at the residence.
Were there any items that you thought were out of place that might have came or originated from the murder scene?
No,
So in the items that you searched that concerned Anthony Parton, there was no evidence gathered, to your knowledge, tying him to any murder scene. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, you got to rephrase that question.
In the house, that the Parton's house, you searched that, right?
Yes, yes,
And you searched the car. Is
correct.
that correct?
Yes.
Did you find any evidence that tied Anthony Parton to that murder scene?
No.
I believe you indicated for these folks that there were no signs of forced entry. Is that correct?
Into the crime scene, the original scene? No, I didn't see any signs of forced entry.
I'm sorry, I should have clarified.
That's okay.
Okay. And you found several items there. You found computers, one computer anyway, one laptop.
Yes,
And we saw from the photographs there was several items on the table. Is that correct?
yes.
Could you tell if, oh, strike that. Was Rachael Anderson's purse still there?
I believe it's her purse. I had her identification there.
And I believe you indicated that you swabbed the doorknobs on the inside and out, back and front,
Just the back,
just the back.
just the rear door, yes.
Why you didn't do front?
Again, because I was advised that police officers came to check welfare checks, family members have. There have been a lot of people in and out of there. People weren't using gloves. So there would have been a host of DNA sources on both of those doors. I was told that the back door, nobody went through that, and it was locked. So it seemed like a more viable DNA location for us.
If, sometimes you know that when you do certain swabbing or you putting down certain tape and fingerprints and stuff, sometimes you may not, or you might think that the chances of you getting some of evidentiary value is slim, right?
Yes,
But sometimes you do it anyway, right?
yes.
Did you do anything with what was on that table, like the scales or the pipes or anything of that nature?
The pipe was collected, the scales were not.
Okay. Why weren't the scales collected?
Things like pipes and cigarette butts are a great DNA source because of saliva. Scales, they could have people could have minimal contact with. Again, I'm evaluating what I think has the most DNA on it. Scale would not be something that I would anticipate that.
Okay. And you wouldn't think that would be important in a case anyway? You just take a picture of it and preserve it, is that correct?
Yeah, in this case, I think photos sufficed.
Detective Durst, let me ask you about this lock and the locking of that apartment. So you may be able to explain to this jury how the locks worked from the inside out.
Okay.
So was there a mechanism on those locks on the inside that you could lock it?
Yes, from the inside, yes.
Okay, now, what about from the outside?
I believe it required a key.
So in order to lock that apartment from the outside, you needed a key.
I believe so, yes.
You know how some of the doors you go to, they got a lock on the inside, you push the lock, you go outside, and the door's locked?
Yes,
It wasn't that situation here, was it?
correct. It was not.
When you were looking at the closet upstairs and you was shown where damage was done to the lock on the closet door, is that a lock?
No.
Or was that just the handle, what do you call that? The doorknob?
Yeah, it was just a doorknob.
There seemed to be, let me ask you, did there seem to be a piece missing on the side of it?
Of the knob or what?
You know what a knob, let me see, I'm gonna get you a picture. Let me find my notes. Could I have A137? And you know what? Judge, can you allow me, can I use this?
Yes, you may. Give me a sec.
Agent Hirsch, you've seen this, what's been marked for identification purposes as State Exhibit A137.
Yes.
And that's the mechanism I'm referring to. You have your pointer.
Yep.
Now, does there appear to be a piece missing from there?
Are you referring to this metal plate that's typically inset in the door?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's not one there.
All right, and did you find that?
I don't believe I was looking for it, but no, I did not find it.
You were also shown members of the jury a piece of the top of the door that was broke off. Did you ever find that? Do I need to show you so
No,
you know?
I know what you're talking about. No, because I don't believe I was looking for it.
Well, it would have been there, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be something you have to look for. It's right there. Is it there or it wasn't, right?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm done. I believe you indicated that, I'm gonna show you what's been marked for identification purposes, State Exhibit A3.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Agent Hurst, now that box over there, that's on that, is that a shoe rack? Looks like a shoe rack.
Yes,
Those are gloves,
yes,
and I believe you indicated those are your gloves. They weren't there when you went in there, were they?
correct.
And then the mat is Thug Life. Was that moved or was that where it was when you showed up?
That's where it was when I showed up.
And at this point, you haven't done any, you say you use volcanic ash
Yes.
now to do the fingerprints?
Yes,
Not black powder, y'all don't use the black powder anymore?
it is black
Okay.
powder, but technically it's volcanic ash.
Okay. And this is prior to you doing any of that?
Yes, sir.
Now, I had noticed just from the pictures, thank you very much, Your Honor, that the only place you ever used and looked for fingerprints, and used that actual powder was on the inside of the front door?
I believe I dusted the back door as well.
You did dust it?
I need to refer to my report to confirm that, but I believe I dusted it as well.
Thank you. Let me hand you what's been marked State Exhibit A for your report. Take a look at that.
Sure. Okay,
Did you?
yes,
You dusted the back door?
yes,
And were there any prints of quality?
No.
Or anything?
no. None were developed on the back door.
You take a picture of that dusting?
No.
When you walk in to the apartment, well, let me ask, did you ever check the closet downstairs at all?
Yes, it was searched.
It was searched
Yes.
by you?
I'm not 100% sure it was searched by me. It was either myself or Agent White, but it was searched.
So it was two agents in there?
Yes. I believe I searched the closet.
Okay. I know during your direct testimony, you talked quite a bit about how easily and your concerns about losing touch DNA. Tell the members of the jury, what did you mean by that when you said, well, I wanted to do this because I might lose the touch DNA?
Okay. Again, we're talking about microscopic skin cells. Movement, manipulating an item, we can lose those. They can shed off of the object. This is a reason why sometimes the DNA profile is established and sometimes it's not found. So when we're talking about touch DNA, it's a very small, very low quantity. So oftentimes that's why we hydrate a swab and we just take it right there, so as to not to lose it.
So it's very easy to actually lose that touch DNA?
I don't want to say easy. I don't want to testify to easy. It depends on the object. I mean, it's very situational.
Did you, no, strike that. And you were doing a pretty thorough search because I guess you actually went into the trash and retrieved some receipts?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were in there, did you remove, maybe I heard it wrong, forgive me, did you remove the cake? Did you remove some aluminum foil from the cake?
Yes.
When you were searching downstairs, did you see any blood downstairs at all?
No. No, I didn't.
Did you see any blood on the steps?
No.
When you were upstairs, you didn't touch any of those dressers or anything, did you?
To search them, yes.
When you went up there, were they all closed?
Yes, I believe so.
When you went and did your first pictures, walked the scene before you started doing the other stuff, all the dresser drawers had been closed. Well, none of those open, were they?
As I recall, I believe they were all closed, yes.
And you took pictures of it before you started moving stuff around, right?
Correct.
You didn't notice any blood on that knife that you found in upstairs, little nightstand next to the bed, closet? You didn't notice no blood in there, did you?
No.
What about on that little razor knife?
No.
No hair either?
No.
I'm just checking on my notes, Sean. Give me that.
Oh, no, take your time.
I think you indicated that one of the reasons that you and, you speak for yourself, but other agents, that you wear gloves is to prevent contamination?
Yes.
Is that to prevent you transferring DNA to any items?
Yes.
So items can be, you can actually transfer your DNA by just touching those items?
Yes.
Your Honor, could I have 1 minute?
You may.
So Agent Durst, you searched, if I'm hearing you correctly, you searched the 3044 Allegheny, is that correct?
Yes.
And you searched the pardon address, is that correct?
Yes.
And you searched the car at the impound lot, is that correct?
2 vehicles, but yes.
2 vehicles? What other vehicle?
Well, there was,
Oh, you searched the other, yes, yes. Was that at the impound lot too?
yes,
Okay. Were you asked by detectives to search any other place?
no,
So you weren't asked to search John Kennedy's house or phone or car?
No.
For any evidence?
no,
What about Tina Kennedy's house or car?
No.
Anything like that?
nope,
You weren't asked to search next door?
no, sir.
Just Anthony Pardon and the cars from Rachel and him, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much, Agent Durst. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Good to see you again. Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple questions. Agent Durst, you stated you found a purse there at the, at the first scene,
Yes, ma'am.
but did you find any credit or debit cards in that purse?
No,
When you searched that apartment, did you ever find keys attached to a lanyard?
no,
Mr. Thomas asked you about dusting the back door. You stated there were no quality prints and that you didn't take a picture. Why didn't you take a picture?
there were no prints developed at all. The reason I took photographs of the front door is because we developed them and I wanted to be able to illustrate where on the door they were located. So, I'm not gonna take a picture of something that doesn't exist. The door was dusted, no prints were located.
And then Mr. Thomas was asking you some questions about touch DNA. And you stated it was situational. When you're talking about situational, is the force used to touch an object? Could that be part of the situation?
It can be, yes.
What about the time spent touching the object? Could that affect the touch DNA?
Yes, very much so.
Go ahead, one moment.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Van Coolen. Recross.
Thank you, Agent Durst.
Sure.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Okay, you can step down.
Thanks, Judge.
Not to discuss your testimony with anyone while this case is still pending.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Counsel, please approach.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is all the evidence that you're going to hear today. Again, I will need you here tomorrow morning before 9 a.m. We'll get started as close to that time as we can. Again, remember the admonitions that I've given you with respect to discussing this case among yourselves or with anyone else. As I've already stated, everything that you will need to decide this case, you will receive from within this courtroom. And it would guarantee that the parties would not have a fair trial if you were to obtain and or rely upon information outside of this courtroom. So please, everyone, have a safe trip home, a safe trip back tomorrow morning, and I will see you as hopefully as close to 9, or we'll get you in here as close to 9, as close to after 9 as we can. All right. All rise for the jury. All right. You may be seated, everyone. Just one real quick question. It doesn't have to be on the record. When do the parties anticipate getting proposed instructions?
We were hoping to get a draft of them done Friday, Your Honor, so
Okay.
we could email them before the close of business Friday. I know that Ms. Dixon's out. We can try to make that a first thing so that you get them sooner rather than later.
Okay. And then if there's any proposed instructions on behalf of the defendant, if you can get those to me around the same time as well.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. All right, see everyone tomorrow morning around 9.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, all right.